Right now in theaters, there are 2 movies with young, strong Latinas in leading roles that involve some sort of magic and a little bit of animals. One of them is a musical, and the other one is a Jurassic Park meets Into the Woods horror comedy, and that's the one we're talking about today. Hi, my name is Emily, or La Movie Mija. I'm a part-time filmmaker, full-time movie lover, and this is my review of Death of a Unicorn. Let's get into it. Father-daughter duo Elliott and Ridley hit a unicorn with their car and bring it to the wilderness retreat of a mega-wealthy pharmaceutical CEO. The film is written and directed by Scharfman and stars Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd, Téa Leoni, Richard E. Grant, Will Poulter, Anthony Carrigan, and Sunita Mani. I gotta admit, when I saw the trailer for this movie, I thought it was going to be a very predictable, run-of-the-mill kind of story. And let me tell you, I wasn't wrong. I wasn't wrong at all. There are definitely some very traditional elements about this movie, but I was wrong in thinking that I wouldn't enjoy this movie because it surprised me. This is quite the creature feature. This is a monster movie that is also a movie about a father-daughter relationship. It's also giving us class commentary. It's also giving us a lot of gore and a little bit of surrealism. Those are all a little bit of elements that I personally love to see in a movie, and I think that this movie does it quite well. This is a directorial debut from Scharfman. It's an A24 film, and it's also executive produced by Ari Aster. So had I known that going in, I would have known that this would be a little bit off the beaten path. I wouldn't say that this movie is perfect. There's definitely some flaws, but I think what really holds it all together in a very nice way are undeniably the performances. Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega are a really strong father-daughter duo, Elliott and Ridley, and they're dealing with the loss of Ridley's mother, and that's really driven a rift between them. It's that kind of classic scenario we've seen in the other films where one parent passes away and the other parent and the child left behind feel like they can't connect anymore, and they're just not talking about that loss, and that loss is a big elephant in the room for both of them. That tension between the two of them is an important element going into this film because really early on is when they strike the unicorn, and that kind of sets off a chain reaction for everything else that takes place. First, they're trying to keep it undercover when they get to the home of the wealthy pharmaceutical CEO, which also puts them in a place where they're trying to work together. But that quickly falls apart because once everyone else finds out about this unicorn, and, minor spoiler, but the unicorn has some kind of mysterious power about it that everyone is very interested in now, that sets off a whole set of other different commentary within the film about people's self-interest, the social class divide within the groups that are presented in the movie, and the depths of humanity that are explored and destroyed in the pursuit of exploiting nature. As a horror film, I thought that all of those elements functioned really nicely. I love when a movie isn't afraid to give us a few different layers of different types of horror. You're getting man versus nature, man versus beast, you're getting man versus man because all of these different groups are competing to stay alive and they don't have a clear-cut way of finding unity or coming together because everyone is just trying to serve their own self-interests. And against the backdrop of this very tender and hurt young woman you have in Ridley, played by Jenna Ortega, and her father, who's a little bit more goofy but still trying to connect with her, you have these even zanier characters, these backdrop of characters that really sell the comedy of this movie and really bring us into the surreal, the Kafkaesque, because they are so delusional and so out of sorts with the way that they approach their decision making because of their social class. Their delusion against the backdrop of this very surreal scenario is so hilarious, and the way that all of the cast plays it off is beautiful. Téa Leoni, if you've seen Spanglish, you know what I'm talking about. I recently rewatched that film, and she is so good as the well-to-do white woman who is she's just trying to do the right thing. And in her head, she is doing exactly what is right for others. She is being helpful, she's being considerate, and she, honest to God, thinks that she is making the right decisions. But for the average person who doesn't have access to mega wealth, they can see right through that delusion, and it creates a very hilarious scenario, especially when they're dealing with what everyone else refuses to admit is a freaking unicorn. If you made it this far in the video, I just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for checking out my channel. I'm a small creator, so every single view means so much to me. I really, really appreciate it. And if you want to encourage me to keep going, there's nothing that fires me up quite like a like and a subscribe. Whew, let me tell you, when we get a new subscriber in my house, it's a party. So give me a reason to dance, please. I really appreciate it. I just really enjoy making movie content for you. So any kind of engagement assures me that I'm doing something worthwhile. But let's be real, I'd probably still be yapping about movies because I love them so much. But your encouragement means the world to me, so thank you so much. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and you can always follow me everywhere at Movie Mija. All right, let's get back to the video. And Will Poulter as her son in this movie, let's just say he wears the heck out of a polo tucked into some little khaki shorts with some boat shoes. Like, you know the vision, he is playing that character to a T. And then you have Anthony Carrigan, who is like a silent straight man who is a member of the staff of the household. And he is just taking in all of these ridiculous orders and instructions from the family that he works for. But later on finds his voice when they're trying to come up with a plan for survival. So on one hand, we've seen like all of these elements before of like the rich people interacting with the normies. So as far as the human setups go, we have seen those two things before. You have a parent-child dealing with the loss of the other parent or a loss in the family and trying to navigate around finding connection beyond that loss. And we've also seen something similar with the different class commentary that comes to play with the different groups, like White Lotus. We've seen this in Blink Twice. We've seen this in Knives Out. Like those all feel very familiar. But let's talk about the unicorn of it all, because I think that little hint of magic, that little surreal twist is what really held my attention throughout the film. This movie borrows heavily from Jurassic Park, not only in its theme of man versus nature. You have this hubris of man, with man thinking that they can manipulate nature, not being able to anticipate the threat that nature poses to them, thinking that they can outsmart like beasts and just, outlive the dangers that surround them. But it's fun because it's unicorns that are like the stuff of like, I don't know, sugar plums and fairies and fairy tales, not the stuff of nightmares. This movie does a really cool job of reimagining what a unicorn could do, or what a unicorn's horn specifically can do to a human body. This movie also commits to giving us a gory monster show. Like, this movie gets pretty bloody and pretty violent in a very satisfying way. I hope that's not too twisted of me to say. I love horror movies. I love when things surprise and shock me. And this movie definitely did that. And even though this movie did surprise me and I did find myself laughing at some of the wonderful like tongue-in-cheek moments, I think my biggest critique of this movie is that it introduces us to a lot of different threads and a lot of really rad ideas, but it doesn't fully commit to like trying to bring them all together or take us somewhere new and unexpected. I think it kind of falls short in that way, and it relies too much on the novelty of unicorns like behaving badly to go any further beyond that. And that's the disappointing part, because there are so many promising elements, especially with the performances of Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega. You have this very comedic cast as well. They have all of the elements in place to like really commit, and I think everyone did a wonderful job with the film that this is. But I think that this film could have gone further. It could have been more surreal. It could have gone a little bit more wild and taken a turn for the better. I think if you're someone who enjoys the politics and the social commentary of a movie like Knives Out, where you have a mega rich group and like some normal people, and they just don't really speak the same language or have the same motivations or, hopes in life, you're going to enjoy how the setup is in the first act. But if you like a creature feature, you like a little bit of comedy mixed in with your gore, you're going to have a great time with the latter half of the movie. But I will say that there's elements of those horrific gory moments, there's elements of that comedy and that social commentary in the latter half, and it all blends together very nicely. I just personally wish that this movie did a little bit more to bring them all together in a way that took us somewhere new and unexpected, because you have a movie with a title as wild as Death of a Unicorn. You have a movie where you have killer unicorns. Like, that is already so sick and twisted. Like, why couldn't we just go a little further to take us somewhere where we can't necessarily predict? And I hope I'm not coming off too harsh on this movie, because I did enjoy it ultimately. I think it's a hard time for movies right now. Like, movies are not performing very well. And I think that it's going to take big risks to get people into movie theaters. And if we're already like 90% of the way there with this premise, with this amazing cast, with this cool opportunity to flip the idea of a unicorn on its head and give us something like truly terrifying. Why not go the extra mile to take us somewhere completely unexpected? But at the end of the day, I would definitely recommend this movie. I think it is worth your time. It is so much fun. The performances are fantastic. And hell yeah, get some killer unicorns. Why not? But let me know if you check out Death of a Unicorn. Do you think that it earns a comparison to Jurassic Park? Did you enjoy some of the zanier kills? Are you now terrified of unicorns? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, that's all from me from now. Thank you again so much for watching my video. I'll see you next time. Bye.